How to control your mind in times of chaos. Modern life demands constant adaptation to chaos. The external world, unpredictable and volatile, forces us to live in a state of constant alertness. Social, professional, and familial pressures seem never-ending. Anxiety, fear, and frustration become silent companions, often invisible to others but overwhelming to those who feel them. The reality is harsh. You have no control over what happens outside of you. But, paradoxically, this is the true freedom that Stoicism offers. The freedom to master what lies within your true jurisdiction, your mind, your responses, your way of interpreting the world. Stoicism is not an escape from reality, but rather the deepest acceptance of it. And from that acceptance, the awakening to an inner power that few truly know. External disarray, the illusion of control. The world we live in is full of uncertainties. What seems certain today can be destroyed tomorrow. What is built can be easily torn down. We live under the false illusion that we can control everything around us. Modern life trains us to try to control all variables: our career, our image, our relationships, our future. However, the more we try to control the uncontrollable, the further we move away from true peace. And the worst part, by losing control, we become prisoners of despair. The real prison is believing that what happens outside of you is more important than your ability to deal with it. Stoicism teaches that true freedom is not in controlling the world, but in mastering the mind in the face of a chaotic world. It is about accepting, without resignation, the nature of what we cannot change, and from this acceptance, developing the strength to act virtuously, without allowing ourselves to be affected by the external storms. The control of the mind, the inner struggle. If there is something we can control, it is our mind. Human thought is fickle, easily swept away by intense emotions and impulsive responses. Yet it is precisely in the realm of the mind that Stoicism stands as a practical and powerful philosophy. Being a Stoic doesn't mean being cold or indifferent. It means having control over what is reactive and impulsive. It means reflecting before acting, learning not to be governed by the passions and emotions that arise in moments of pressure. True strength lies in the ability to act with mental clarity, even in the most difficult situations. The mind, when well trained, is capable of perceiving reality without the distortion of momentary emotions. Instead of being governed by negative or anxious thoughts, the Stoic learns to give space to reason. They recognize that their emotions are not facts, but reactions that can be controlled and redirected. Stoic practice, then, is not about avoiding emotions, but about taking a rational and conscious approach to them. Acceptance of reality. The path to inner freedom. The first step toward true freedom is the acceptance of reality as it is. This doesn't mean resignation, but liberation. When we accept that we cannot control everything around us, we begin to release the burden of trying to control the uncontrollable. Resistance to reality, the constant struggle against what we cannot change, is what causes most of human suffering. Stoicism teaches that suffering is not caused by what happens to us, but by our response to these events. When we oppose reality, we suffer. When we accept, we understand that suffering is not something to fear, but something to be transformed into learning. The power of Stoicism lies in understanding that by accepting the adversities of life, we are not being passive, but positioning ourselves to act in a more conscious and strategic way. Accepting loss, pain, and failure does not mean giving in, but using these experiences as a foundation for growth, development, and resilience. Transforming adversity into growth, the strength of virtue. The true measure of a human being is not in how they behave in moments of success, but in how they remain steadfast in adversity. Stoicism teaches us to see adversity not as an obstacle to avoid, but as a path to moral and intellectual evolution. Each difficulty is an opportunity to practice fundamental virtues, courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. Life is not made of easy days. It is the difficulties, losses, and challenges that reveal a person's true character. The Stoic does not despair when the world seems to crumble. They understand that their virtue is their anchor and that the value of life lies in how they choose to respond to circumstances with rationality, compassion, and resilience. The awakening to a greater purpose, life beyond suffering. The final lesson of Stoicism is that we are not defined by circumstances, but by the way we react to them. True inner freedom comes when we understand that we are responsible for the quality of our reactions and for how we live our truth. Each choice, each thought, each action is an opportunity to affirm who we are and what we seek. The Stoic does not live in fear of suffering, but with the understanding that suffering is merely a stage, a transitional phase that, if well managed, can transform into a powerful force. When you begin to live according to Stoic principles, you no longer see life as a constant battle against adversity, but as an opportunity to be the best version of yourself, regardless of external circumstances. Now that you understand the depth of Stoicism, the challenge is to apply this knowledge. You have the choice to continue reacting to events automatically and impulsively, or decide to start practicing self-control, acceptance, and growth through adversity. Stoicism is not a theoretical philosophy, but a daily practice that transforms the mind and life. The question is not what the world can do for you, but what you can do with your mind and your responses. True freedom lies within you, and it begins the moment you decide to no longer be a slave to circumstances, but the master of your own journey.